Today, I wanted to do a little bit more engaging with my viewers as I just came back and started releasing a bunch of combo videos, and videos like this can help me reset a little before I go back into tackling all these new cards. So I hope you guys will be receptive to this kind of content, as I'd also like to set up a potential Q&A if it's something that you all would be interested in. But to get onto the topic of today's video, with the release of Alliance Insight, we've now began to enter the final stage of the current meta deck's lifespan before the next set comes and changes a lot of the things that we know. Seeing the overall reaction to Justice Hunters in the OCG, it's hard to not feel a certain kind of anticipation in the air, with the timing of the set being on the later ranges of banlist season, and Justice Hunters looks to really set sail into the new era for the TCG. I also believe that some of the most impactful cards in the next era could already be here in the form of the Dominus cards. It's really just impulse, but songs just came out, and that could have its own formats. Before I get into that spiderweb though, I'd like to explain why I think we'll be entering a new era beyond the reasons of a new set and ban list. Over the course of the last couple of years, we've seen Konami make efforts to make Yu-Gi-Oh! More interactive again. While certain cards and boards at times hindered how interactive the game actually felt, anyone who lived through MR4 and saw the beginning of MR5 up until the end of Hulk knows that was the most disengaging that this game had ever been. Drytron even had Herald, which put your opponent on drawing the out. It was a near FTK deck, and that had as much time as it did. And I know that there were Tri-Brigade and other decks in that format, but they were still making Appaloosa and trying to put up a board that could respond to the majority of a person's hand. And Tier 0 formats have always been a flavor for some, but others didn't like the aspects of it, like the die rolls and the lack of excitement due to little to no diversity and creativity when looked at through the scope of how many cards are actually in the game. Complaints loud enough to cause a shareholder meeting helped Konami start shifting its focus to something that's in better synchrony with a larger part of its audience, regardless of background. Alongside better prize support and creating an environment to better match its advertisements, one of the most important things was enjoyability of the game. In Justice Hunters, we'll be getting more in-archetype hand traps meant to shift decks towards playing more engine than nearly 20 going second cards. In Konami's most recent attempt to counteract hand traps like Bystials and Nibiru through the Dominus cards, we previously got Azamina and Fiendsmith engines to try and take that role. It ultimately turned into almost any deck being able to play either of these engines and combo before they actually had to combo to stop these cards, which increased the time it took to finish turns to counteract a very specific set of cards. Now, this is where we enter the spiderweb looming over Justice Hunters, the Dominus cards and K9 Ripper. In late MR4 and early MR5, some of the lack of engagement in these games came from something like having called by to continue your combo, or having Nibiru to stop your opponent's combo, which resulted in the other person being able to combo and the other person having a nib token. It also resulted in us getting more cards like Crossout Designator and the triple tactic cards, and things that were synonymous with the phrase minigame within a minigame. Justice Hunters alongside the Dominus cards, if not handled correctly, could have a similar result. A Charmy going second into Ripper, making cards like Bystials and Nibiru worse, doesn't quite stop this called by-esque minigame though, as it just changes its form into a little bit something different, where people can just hold until they see something like Imperma Nibiru through a Charmy to stop these full boards. This also brings the question though, what would happen in formats where Ripper is just the first thing on the board before the next Fiendsmith Snake Eyes pile starts going off? While some of these problems can be fixed by shifting the meta towards board breakers, I don't believe that we have the right set of board breakers for interactive gameplay, kind of looking at Super Poly, Droplet, and stuff like that, but holding a negate for something like Talons shouldn't be discouraged amongst players from a skill perspective, but from a gameplay standpoint, it creates more variables that can sometimes go beyond skill because of how impactful cards like that are. Before we know it, Justice Hunters could follow this trend of endless adaptation, where it feels like you need to own every single going second card if you play the physical card game, or even Master Duels where you have to craft things that we've quietly seen take place more and more frequent within formats. The easiest solution to something like this could be to potentially stop printing generic hand traps that special summon from the hand, and maybe even go as far as to ban Nibiru and Bystials, so that if if players have to counteract board breakers, they at least know it's a board breaker format. When combining the board breaking hand trap ability that Bystials and Nibiru have and putting them in the same format as the Dominus cards, while potentially more cards that follow a similar pattern, I can't help but think we could run into another familiar problem with cards that would really just have a different art at that point. Overall though, I really just wanted to put this video out there to have a voice on this one, as I really do think that Konami is heading in a better direction with the game. And small chance if someone in Konami is watching this, please give us a Red Eye structure deck, some Dark Magician cards that are actually good, and a whole broken Bakura archetype, please. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the next era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Down below. Do you like the direction as a whole, or just have one or two small things in the back of your mind like this? Anyways, it's Bones, signing out.